yourself as a true chess player, you almost have to know the immortal game, a true work of art in chess. It is in that game that Olof Andersen, the best chess player in the 1850s, sacrificed 2 rooks, 1 bishop, and ended the game with a queen sacrifice to checkmate his opponent. But we've already had the last moves here on Chess TV as a puzzle, so in this week's episode, I thought it would be great to search for the last moves that Olof Andersen played into other of his games. The first puzzle we'll look at, Andersen played against Jean Dufresne in 1852 as white, and just as in the immortal game, Andersen sacrificed almost all his pieces, namely a piece, a rook, and his queen. I'll give you 1 minute to find the checkmate in 3 moves that white performs on black. Good luck! Andersen has not only just a few pieces left, but he is also just 1 move away from being checkmated. In these puzzles, where we know that we are only 1 move away from being checkmated ourselves, we know that we must check in all our moves. This knowledge helps us to sift out 11 moves, 2 of which still seems as fairly possible answers, namely bishop to f5 and bishop to b5. Bishop to b5 check forces black to move the king due to the double check. When the king goes to c8, we can play bishop to d7 check, and then black's only move is to king d8, after which we can checkmate with bishop captures on e7 checkmate. But on bishop to b5 check, black can get away with his king to e6 too. In order for ourselves not to get checkmated, we must check black again, but in the next move, he captures our f6 pawn, and then we become a very easy target. Bishop to f5 check, however, blocks the e6 square, but lets go of the c6 square instead. So what happens now after king to c6? Well, white can play bishop to d7, and amazingly enough, it is checkmate. On black's other option, king e8, we play bishop to d7 checkmate. And if black plays king d8, we checkmate by playing bishop captures on e7, and that's also what we play on king to f8. The next chess puzzle was played by a 21-year-older Andersen, and even this game started in the Evans Gambit, a gambit in which black is often not allowed to castle. In this game, Andersen has sacrificed only 2 pawns, but yet his opponent, none other than Samuel Rosenthal, is in great danger. So, 1 minute, 4 moves, white wins. Good luck! We can figure out that white needs to check in every single move to be able to checkmate in 4 moves, because if we let black sacrifice the bishop on f2 and the queen on g2 with checks, we no longer have enough moves to checkmate on. But the problem is that we can find 5 different checking moves, but none of them really stand out as a good one. Before you start to sift through your candidate moves and analyze one move after the other, it's a good idea to analyze the situation from a strategic point of view first. we see that it would be a great thing if we just could open up the line for the rook to the king. And that's actually easier than you first might think. All we have to do is to check with the knight either on d6 or f6, and in the same time not allowing to block the queen. And thus forcing black to take the knight, we will play knight to f6 check. If the queen takes the knight, we capture back with the pawn on f6, and whatever black plays, knight to e6 or bishop to e3, we checkmate with queen to e7. But if black instead takes the knight with his pawn and we capture black with our pawn, the situation is a little different given that black has his queen left. And with this queen, he can play queen to e4, a move that blocks queen to e7. What we do is to capture his queen with our rook, black must play knight to e6, and we checkmate with queen to e7. Both of these chess puzzles were played by Anders, and even though they came up in the same opening, the Evans Gambit, the puzzles actually required somewhat of a different way of thinking to be solved. The first puzzle required a good tactical thinking, and the second one required a good strategic thinking. If you usually play gambits, it's important to practice a lot in solving chess puzzles, because gambits are known for arising complicated positions where you just can't afford to miss the often emerging opportunities for tactical maneuvers. If you, on the other hand, don't play gambits but are good at solving chess puzzles, I would actually recommend you to try to play a gambit, just to make your games more interesting.